Good day, everyone. Praise be Jesus and Mary. I am Mr. Garch and I will be your teacher in General Biology 1. Today, we will be discussing about biological molecules, its structures and functions. Let's start. What are biological molecules? Biological molecules are organic compounds. When we say organic compounds, these are compounds made of two types of elements. We have the carbon and the hydrogen. All living things are organic, meaning plants, animals, including us humans, are made of organic compounds. There are four classes of biological molecules. We have the carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. What is macromolecule? Macromolecule from the root word macro, which means big. Biological molecules are big molecules. Macromolecules are also called polymers. Polymers from the root word poly, which means many. Polymers are made up of subunits called monomers. In short, monomers are the building blocks of polymers. The four biological molecules can be found in the food that we eat. Look at this figure. 3 out of 4 biological molecules are present. They are the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Now let's discuss the 4 biological molecules. Let's start with carbohydrates. The other term for carbohydrates are saccharides. It contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in 1:2:1 ratio. Carbohydrates are the most abundant among the 4 biological molecules. Foods high in carbohydrates include bread, pasta, beans, potatoes, and cereals. Carbohydrates are the major food source and key form of energy for most organisms. There are 3 types of carbohydrates. We have the monosaccharide, disaccharide, and the polysaccharide. Monosaccharide is the smallest sugar unit. The examples of this are glucose, galactose, and fructose. When we say glucose, it is the major source of energy for the cell. Galactose is a sugar found in milk and in any other dairy products. And lastly, fructose. Fructose is a sugar found in vegetable and fruit. Now let's talk about disaccharides. From the root word di, which means two. These are 2 monosaccharides bonded together. Examples of this are lactose, sucrose, and maltose. Now take note of these combinations. First, glucose plus galactose is equals to lactose, which is a sugar in milk. Second, glucose plus fructose is equals to sucrose, which is a table sugar. And lastly, glucose plus glucose is equals to maltose, which is a sugar found in cereals or in grains. How about a combination of 2 or more monosaccharides? What do we call it? Right, it is called polysaccharides. However, polysaccharides can be branched or unbranched. When we say branch, the molecule looks like a tree and with branches. But when we say unbranched, the molecule follows a straight path. The examples of polysaccharides are glycogen, starches, and cellulose. When we say glycogen, it is a polysaccharide that humans and animals store in their liver and in their muscles. But when we say starches, these are glucose polymers that are made of amylase and amylopectin. It can be found in potatoes and in rice. And lastly, cellulose. Cellulose is one of the main structural constituents of plants. Wood, Paper and cotton are mostly made of cellulose. Now we're done with carbohydrates. Let's proceed to the second type of biological molecule, and that is protein. Proteins are made up of elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. We can find protein in animal sources like this. Aside from the protein found in animal sources, protein can also be found in fruits, vegetables, grains, and nuts. Amino acids are the basic building blocks of proteins. Each amino acid has an amino group, a carboxyl group, a hydrogen group, and a specific side chain R group bonded to the alpha carbon atom. Enzymes are proteins. It speeds up the rate of a chemical reaction, and it acts like a catalyst by lowering the energy needed to begin the reaction. Now let us know the biological functions of proteins. First is catalytic function. Nearly all chemical reactions in biological systems are catalyzed by specific enzymes. Second, transport and storage. For example, hemoglobin transports oxygen in erythrocytes or the RBCs. Myoglobin carries and stores oxygen in muscle. Third, albumin transports free fatty acids in blood. And fourth, transferrin transports iron in blood. Third function is coordinated motion. Actin and myosin are contractile proteins in muscle. Fourth, structural and mechanical support. For example, collagen, a fibrous protein in skin and bone. Fifth, defense function. For example, clotting factors prevent loss of blood. Six, generation and transmission of nerve impulses. For example, rhodopsin is a photoreceptor protein in retinal rod cells. And seventh, control of growth and differentiation. For example, growth factor proteins, hormones such as insulin, and thyroid stimulating hormone. Now we're done with proteins. Let's proceed to lipids. Lipids are made up of three types of elements. These are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. What do lipids do in our body? Lipids can be a source of heat and energy. They insulate the body to help maintain normal body temperature, and they cushion the internal organs for protection. Remember the phospholipid bilayer of the cell membrane? It is made up of lipids. The head is made of glycerol and the tail is made of fatty acids. Lipids have two monomers. These are glycerol and fatty acids. Triglycerides are a group of glycerol with three fatty acids. These are the examples of fatty acids. Now we're done with lipids. Let's proceed to the fourth type of biological molecule, and that is nucleic acid. There are two types of nucleic acids. We have DNA and the RNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. The monomers of nucleic acids are called nucleotides. Now let's differentiate RNA from DNA. Now in terms of structure, RNA follows a single strand, while the DNA follows the structure double helix. In terms of nitrogenous bases, the RNA follows adenine, cytosine, uracil, and guanine, while the DNA follows adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. In terms of sugar, the RNA contains ribose, while the DNA contains deoxyribose. DNA can be found in the nucleus of the cell. It contains the genetic makeup of an individual, while the RNA can be found freely floating in the cytoplasm of the cell. That's it! We're done with the four biological molecules. If you have any questions or clarifications, send it to my email below. This is Mr. Garchel. Thank you and may God bless us all.